The last 911 call I ever answered. I placed myself. I did not know that yet the night it started. I need you to stay to the end, because there is a sentence coming that will turn me from the man they gave the medal to into the man he reported. It is the same man. That is the whole problem. My name does not matter. I was a deputy in Osier County, the dry high country where the 2 lanes run 40 empty miles between towns, and the radio is the only company after midnight. Call sign 12. Night shift, 22 years, the one nobody else wanted. I wanted it. I liked being the one they could count on to pick up. In a life where I got most things wrong, that was the single true thing about me. I answered. Every call that ever came to my car, I answered. Hold on to that. It comes back for me. Here is the only technical thing you need, and then I will leave it alone. When a person dials 911, the dispatcher's screen shows where the call is coming from before the caller says a word, a number, and a place. The machine does not guess. In 22 years, it never once lied to me. The first night it lied, Verna stopped talking. Verna ran dispatch. She had talked deputies through their worst nights since before I was hired, and she did not stop mid-sentence. Ever. So when she went quiet for 1 full second on the air, the cold got into me before she even finished. She said, 12. That is strange. The call is coming back to your unit. I was parked at the top of Paul's drawer with my thermos, watching the highway do nothing. I looked at the phone bolted into my dash. Dark. No line open. I picked it up and the screen was black glass with my own face in it. Then she said the rest. A male caller, calm, reporting a sheriff's unit sitting up on the drawer that would not respond to a woman down at the Deacon's cutoff. She said, the caller says the deputy is just sitting there. He says the deputy is not going. I keyed up and called it a glitch. She agreed too fast. People do that when they need a thing to stay small. I drove down to the cutoff. Nothing there. Cold gravel, the guardrail, the drawer dropping into black. The feeling you get walking into a room something just left. I told myself I was tired. I went back to work. I have to tell you about the cutoff because I keep steering around it. That curve is where, 15 years earlier, a young woman named Renee Toller put her small car off the shoulder in a freak spring snow and died in it before help came. Her boy Ezra lived. 4 years old. They found him in the morning, under her coat, so cold he had stopped crying. I worked that night. Remember that too. I'm getting to it. The second call came 11 days later. Same man. Calm. And this time he gave detail. He said the deputy had a green metal thermos on the dash. He said the heater was on the second notch. He said the deputy had told dispatch he was en route 11 minutes ago and had not moved. My thermos is green. The heater was on the second notch. I was sitting in the exact posture he described, alone, lights off, at 2 in the morning, where no living person could have seen me. I did a strange thing. I told Verna to record it and log that 12 was parked, alone, no call in progress. I made her read it back. I think some part of me already knew the record was going to be the battlefield, and I was already afraid of what it would say about me. Next morning I asked her to play it. She sat with her hand over her mouth. A man's voice, tired in a particular way, describing the deputy on the drawer the way you describe a stranger. Plainly. Helpfully. And at the very end, quiet, almost kind, he said one more thing. He said, he's not going. He never was. He was my voice. I'm not saying that for effect. Verna heard it too. We looked at each other, and neither of us would say whose voice it was, because saying it out loud would lock something in place that could not be pried back out. Now, the sentence I promised you. 15 years ago, the night Renee Toller died, I was parked at the top of Paul's drawer. That same turnout. The call came in. I was 9 minutes out, maybe less. I keyed up and told the young Verna I was en route, and then I sat. 11 minutes. Heater running. I told myself another unit was closer. I told myself the road was sliding and I would only ditch the car. I told myself she had pulled over safe and was just rattled. I said en route and I did not route. And by the time I finally drove down, she was gone, and the boy was too cold to make a sound. The report blamed a slide on Paul's drawer. There was a slide that week. It was not on the road that night. So when I heard my own voice reporting the deputy who would not go, I understood who was calling. Not René, the honest man I should have been. The one who, that night, would have picked up the phone and turned me in. He was 15 years late, and every word of it was true. I should tell you I was terrified. That would be cleaner. The truth is that the first thing I felt was something closer to relief. Somebody finally knew. After 15 years of carrying it alone, somebody was saying it out loud, even if the somebody was me. That relief is how it got in. Remember that, because then the healing started, and the healing is the horror. I pulled the old case file. Door shut, back to the wall. My narrative was there in my own hand. The slide, the delay, the child found in the morning, but behind it was a supplemental page I did not write, also in my hand. It said, Deputy 12 reached the vehicle, pulled the child clear, worked on the mother. It gave a response time. 6 minutes. I had written 11, and 11 was already a lie shaved thin. Now the page said 6, in my handwriting, aged like the rest of it. And here is the part I could not unsee. The weeks the honest voice called in clearest, the weeks he reported me most exactly, were the weeks the record moved hardest against him. As if the county heard him, could not stand him, and answered by pressing the lie in deeper. The truer he got, the more the world buried him. Then it got a face, a new one. I want you to notice this, because this is where it stopped being about me alone. A man at the feed store thanked me for what my partner and I did that night. My partner. I never had a partner on nights. I ran that county alone, but he described him. Younger fellow, he said, rode with you back then. Real quiet. And I stood there and could not remember the name of a man who never existed. And worse, for 1 second, I almost could. There was a shape in my memory where he should have been. A second set of boots in the snow. I want to say I laughed it off. I did not. I went home and looked at my own hands and tried to remember whether they had ever been that cold, holding a child, and I could not tell any more which memories were mine and which ones the county had loaned me. Then the boy came. Ezra Toller, 19 now. Works the co-op in Halloran. He has his mother's chin, though there is no one left to tell him that. He came into the substation on his own, turning his cap in his hand, and he thanked me. Said he had wanted to his whole life and never had the nerve. Said his aunt told him the story 100 times, how the deputy got there in time, how the deputy carried him up out of the snow and set him in the front seat with the heater running until the ambulance came. He said, "You saved my life, and I never got to say thank you. None of it happened. I never carried him out. The morning crew found the car. I never touched that child in my life until he shook my hand in that doorway. But his eyes were wet, and he meant it. And his aunt had told it to him as gospel for 15 years. And I could not find, anywhere in my whole body, the thing you would need to open your mouth and take it from him." So I shook his hand. I said I was glad he turned out all right, and I let it stand. That was the trap, not the phone, not the file, a grieving boy holding out his hand, and a starved place in me that had wanted, for 15 years, to be the man he thought I was. I did not fight the thing on the road. I joined it. For a while after that, nothing happened. I need you to understand what that was like. The call stopped. A week, 2, a month, no voice, no call back from my own car, no page moving in the file, and I let myself believe it was over. I slept. I sat on my porch in the evenings. I felt, God help me, forgiven, like the debt had been quietly marked paid and I could keep the boy and keep the good name and keep breathing. That was the cruelest stretch of the whole thing, because it was not mercy. It was the record finishing its work while I was not looking. When the calls came back, they had changed. The honest voice started getting cut off. Werner would put him through to my radio, and he would begin to report the deputy on the draw, steady, exact, and the line would drop mid-sentence. Then his calls went missing from the log altogether. Werner would swear she just took one, go to find it, and there would be nothing. Not deleted, never arrived. And then the log did something worse than erase him. It reattributed him. The 911 calls started showing in the system as placed by Deputy 12, not reported to, placed by. The record decided the hero had been the one calling all along. The honest man did not just get silenced. He got folded into me. Some nights, right before the line dropped, he stopped reporting the deputy in the third person. He said it straight to me. "You're not going. You never were." And then nothing. I decided I would go answer him. That is the closest I ever came to a plan. If he was still out there calling, still trying to turn me in, I would drive to where he was and let him. I would do the thing I did not do. It sounds like courage. It was not. It was the same hunger that made me shake that boy's hand. Even then, I wanted to be the man who went more than I wanted to be safe. February. First heavy snow of a hard winter. The call came a little after 2. Werner's voice came thin, not steady. She said, "12, it is your car. He is on the line." And she said, "Wade, please, do not." I was already driving. I have to tell this part carefully, because it is the part I am least sure of, and I promised I would not smooth it. I came down the grade with my lights off. I do not know why I killed them. My high beams found a small car off the road against the guardrail. Older, the kind they stopped making years ago. Half into the draw, back wheels lifted. Snow coming down slow and huge. No other light anywhere in the world. And there was a patrol car already parked on the shoulder. Engine running. Exhaust standing straight up in the cold. My unit number on the trunk, 12. Driver door open. Dome light on, warm and yellow. Seat empty. And on the dash, a green metal thermos. I sat in my own running patrol car and looked at my own running patrol car. From the small car down in the snow, faint, a child. Not crying. That small, hitching catch of breath a child makes after it has gone past crying into just trying to breathe. I understood who was down there. Not a monster, not Renee. Him, the honest deputy, the one who got out of the warm car 15 years ago instead of sitting in it. He had finally driven down. He was doing the thing I did not do. And the running car with the open door and the warm seat was waiting for whichever of us walked back up. I did not walk down. I have argued that for 10,000 nights. Cowardice, or the one clear thing I ever did out there. Instead I keyed my radio, and into the snow, and to Werner, and to the man in the drawer, I said the thing I never said and never earned. I said, "I am coming. I am coming down now. Hold on, and understand what I did when I said it." I was not going down. I said I am coming from inside the warm car, into the microphone. Exactly the way I said en route 15 years ago. I said the words instead of doing the thing. Again. The running car shut off. The dome light died. The exhaust came apart. When I got my flashlight down into the drawer, there was no small car, no child, no honest man. The guardrail, the snow, my own 2 boot prints at the top where I stood. Nothing else. I had said I am coming, and I had not come. And by not coming, I had done to him exactly what I did to her. I left him down there. I drove up the grade with the heater roaring, and I could not get warm. Hold on to that cold. It never left. That was the last call. He never called again. I had finally hung up on him myself. Now sit with me in the quiet where the calls used to be. That quiet is the rest of my life. That is where the real horror lives. Not on the road. After. In the spring, the county gave me a medal. I have to say it flat or I will dress it up. The record finished healing, and on the far side of it I was no longer a man with a secret. I was the deputy who saved the Toller boy. Full stop. The county's small, quiet legend, the one they bring out at the academy graduations. There was a ceremony. Ezra stood beside me in a good shirt. The sheriff read the citation, and the 6-minute response time was right there in it, and everyone smiled at me, and I smiled back. I have the plaque, my name, the word valor. I keep it face down in the bottom drawer, which is its own confession, because I cannot look at it, and I cannot throw it away. Verna retired that summer. At her party, she took hold of me and would not let go, and said the Tola night was the one she would tell her grandchildren, the night we brought that baby home. She said we. She said it like it belonged to both of us, and she was so purely happy, and I held on to her and said, "Thank you, Verna," and let her carry that lie home forever. That was the second gift I gave that woman. God forgive me. It is the best thing I have ever done for another person. I knew to the penny what it cost. I would pay it again tonight. That is the part no one could understand. The worst thing I have ever done and the kindest thing I have ever done are the same act. A truth withheld, a hand shaken, a man left down in the drawer. I do not know how to hold them in one hand. So I keep them in the drawer, face down, in the dark, together. I have tried to work out what happened out there. I only get pieces. I have made a hard peace with never getting more. I think a choice can stay in a place the way cold stays in the bottom of a drawer. I think the man I did not become never went anywhere. He waited up at that turnout for 15 years, got patient enough, and finally did the one thing I never let him do. He picked up the phone. He never explained himself. That is what keeps me at the window at night. I do not know whose child was breathing in that snow. Ezra, or the boy I might have saved, or my own self, small and cold, waiting for a deputy who was sitting warm at the top of the hill. I still keep a scanner in the house, a retired man in a quiet county. You would think I would shut it off. My wife thinks it is habit. It is not. About a year after the ceremony, in the dead middle of the night, the county put out a call that sat me straight up in bed. A male caller reporting a unit on Paul's drawer that would not respond. And the new dispatcher, a young man who never heard of me, read the call back off his screen, puzzled, exactly the way Verna was puzzled the first night, and said it was coming back to a unit they retired years ago, because the deputy who ran it had passed. He said, "That is odd. That unit has been out of service a long time." 12. And a deputy answered it. A young voice, bright, glad to have something to do on a slow night. Keying up eager and certain the way I used to, back when the one true thing about me was that I came. He said he would take it. He said he was close. He said, en route. I sat in the dark with the scanner turned low and did not key anything, because I have nothing to key with anymore, and because there is nothing I could tell that young man that he would believe. I listened to him drive, happy, toward Paul's drawer, to answer a calm, honest voice that has been calling out of that turnout longer than he has been alive. And I thought about the plaque face down in the drawer, and how glad the record was going to be. How warm, how certain, and how not one person who comes to love that young deputy will ever be able to tell him what he traded, because it is going to read, in his own hand, like the best night of his life. I turned the scanner down. I did not turn it off. I have never once turned it off. I lie here most nights, later than a man my age should be awake, listening to the quiet where the calls used to be, trying to decide whether I will drive out there and stand in the turnout at the top of Paul's drawer and let the honest voice finally get through. Turn me in, after all these years, before that young man learns to sit still in a warm car. I have not decided. That is the honest end of it. I keep the scanner on, I keep the drawer shut, and every night, down under the static, patient as cold settling into low ground, I can still hear him, not asking where the deputy is. He always knew where the deputy was. He is asking the only question that was ever really on the line. He is asking which one of us is going to answer it. And I am so afraid that I already did, the same way I always have. I said I was coming, and I stayed exactly where I was.